Hello again, and welcome to today's first Community Association Management session, How Top Management Companies Thrive in the New Norm. Kicking off the session will be Beth Gilbert, Senior Director of the Community Association Market at Appfolio, who will be talking with Jordan Levine, President and co-founder of Pelican Property Management. Don't forget, after this session, click the back button to return to the agenda page. You can then enter any other in-progress session by clicking the broadcast button for that session on the agenda. Without further ado, let's hear from Beth and Jordan.
Hello, welcome to How Top Management Companies Thrive in the New Norm. I'm Beth Gilbert, Senior Director of the Community Association Market at Appfolio, and I'll be moderating today's panel. This year has been a challenging one, and like many industries, the community association market needed to move quickly to adjust not only their internal operations, but also how to support communities they manage. Many of these changes have become the new norm now. One thing that's been important during this past several months is learning from each other and sharing not only success stories, but pitfalls. Pitfalls to avoid. One's company's success can be the insight that another company was waiting for. It's those light bulb moments that many of us had this year. Joining me today, we have Jordan Levine, co-founder of Pelican Property Management based in Maryland, and Michael Lombardo, president of Plaza Realty and Management Corp based in Connecticut. They're here with me today to share their story around how they're thriving in the new norm. Thank you both so much for being here with me today. Before we get started, I'd wonder if you both could just share a little bit about your company, maybe to help set the stage for what we're going to talk about today, things around how it was prior to COVID, like the kinds of associations you manage, demographics of your homeowners, the technology aptitude of your communities, whatever you think would be most relevant. Jordan, let's start with you.
Okay, so again, my name is Jordan Levine. I started Pelican with my partner, Joe Rector, back in 2013. And we started out with 6 units and now, 6,000 units. I guess it's hard to count at this point. And anyhow, we started with the 6 units. We just through a turn ended up in this association side, probably 85 to 90% at this point, where we're doing association management. We have a bent on technology, communication, and innovation. In fact, we have that hanging on our wall in our office in multiple places. And Appfolio fits right in with that. So that's where we are, where we're heading. We are growing by leaps and bounds at this point. So, and we're utilizing all of the technology that we have in place to do that and manage that at this point.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jordan. Michael, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Plaza Realty was formed in 1970, so we've just finished our 50th year in business. It's a family-run business. My uncle started the company, and about 10 years ago, myself and 2 partners purchased that from him. We have about 6,700 units, about 80 properties in Lower Fairfield County, Connecticut, which is just outside of New York. And the biggest part of our business, about 95% of it, is community association management. And we were lucky enough during the COVID to plan our changeover of our computer software from VMS to Appfolio. And we thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, but with working with Appfolio, it worked out much better than we expected. And I think it was a perfect time because people were home. People were able to look at things more. They weren't out. Everybody was sitting by their computers. So we actually think that our decision to move forward with this was beneficial for us and for our clients. And we know that we're much happier with the Appfolio services, and we know that that's going to help us continue to grow as we've been doing over the past several years.
That's so great. And we'll learn more about how that's been for you all as we keep going. So let's continue.
Okay.
So on the onset of COVID, we surveyed our customers to understand the challenges and areas of concern that many had. Some of the top concerns were, mentioned on these slides. So the need to cancel board meetings or whether or not you should. How do we maintain the buildings or the community? So the maintenance aspect. Even what do we do about delinquencies? So are we going to have an issue with any of those? And then with that, we also asked about tech-related challenges. And these were the top 4 that came up. Key processes not being fulfilled, fully digital, difficulty with communicating, lack of defined processes and workflows for social distancing, and not being able to complete tasks remotely. Jordan, I know Pelican was quick to react to the COVID disruption. Thinking back to the early days, what were your top concerns that you needed to address as soon as possible?
Well, first off, the first concern overall, I'll never forget sitting in the conference room with all the employees, I think the day or two before we actually shut down the office. I kind of knew the week heading up, and I can't remember the exact week, but somewhere around March 15th or something like that. And so my first concern was the safety of everybody that worked here and the safety of their families. And so taking that right off the bat, that was a number one. Secondly, we had to figure out the safety, security, and workflows of all of our associations and all of our managed properties and properties that I own. We had to figure that out. And amazingly, everybody came together in about 2 days. And as I say to everybody, you can never go to war at 100%, but I'll take 85%. I think we were close to 85% by that Friday when we literally just shut the doors. And amazingly, my top concern, people, the associations, workflow, that was top priority. What did alleviate a lot of the concern and pain really was when we dove into it I knew this, we were leading up to it in about a week's time, but in about 2 days, we basically identified that essentially we were all working together in the office, yet we were basically working remotely. I mean, our whole accounting department, even though I could walk out and say, hey, what's going on? Or they could come into my office, that was eliminated, but they could still pick up the phone. They still got all their invoices. We still paid all the bills. We knew that we could do this and we could literally shut it down immediately. And really with no major implications in communication or response time or anything out to our communities. Yeah, did we have to work through some issues? Sure. We switched our phone system around midstream a little bit to make that a little bit more mobile, accessible. Other than that, as we progressed, we figured out different holes that we had to fill. And again, you never go to war at 100%, but I think leaving here at 85%, we were comfortable. Our clients knew that we were on the ball too. And that was another thing. We were ahead of them in newsletters, in communications, in text messages, in letters that we could send out through the system. So we were fully in contact with every client. And they knew, I guess if they couldn't get a hold of somebody right away, they understood in the first couple of weeks while we were, filling in some gaps and some holes and so on and so forth. But yeah, so, that's sort of the priority list of our concerns. And it ended up working out beautifully. I mean, to the point where if I could do it again, I would do it the same way. Hopefully I don't have to do it again. But
now you're prepared. So that's great. And I'd love for later on for you to talk about what are things what you did. Sure. Michael, so you mentioned Plaza was transitioning to Appfolio during this time. How did that play into, COVID, hitting us also during the transition? How did that play into any concerns you had? And what about your company as well?
Well, I mean, Jordan at least prepared for it. We shut down immediately once one of our staff members thought they had COVID. and I immediately closed the office at 2 o'clock on an afternoon while we were in the process of turning over from our current financial system into the Appfolio system. And that was a bit scary, to say the least. We didn't have everything up and running. We were basically running 2 systems at the time, and everybody was home, working from home, and we were not as effective as we could have been for the first few days. We then got into Strive. Fortunately, I live close to my office. I had the office disinfected, and I came in every day. So at least we had a presence here. The phones would ring, I would pick them up. People knew I was around. They knew they could reach at least one person very quickly, and then I could disseminate that to whoever and wherever we had to. Fortunately, our clients all understood, everybody understood that, first was health and safety. Second was, obviously the operations of the buildings and the safety of our staff. And then the safety, obviously, of all of the owners. So we, as Jordan said, we put into place, while we were out of the office, what we could do, making sure we had PPE, making sure that, our buildings where we have elevators and front doors along this nature were periodically cleaned throughout the day. We, as Jordan, sent a lot of notifications out to our owners about what was happening, what was going on, where we were. And fortunately, we were able to continue to pay our bills, continue to collect our carrying charges for our clients and the rents and all of the rest of it with very limited disruption to anyone. Financial statements, bank accounts, those are, again, the most important things to make sure your client knows where their money is. And everything was in place, ready to go. We try to get our financial statements out to our clients 5 days after the close of business of the previous month. We were probably 7 or 8 days where we had that at that point. So we weren't so far off. Our clients were getting used to the new system, and I think it actually was beneficial to us to do that. So fortunately, it worked pretty well for us, and I wish I didn't have to do it. I'm glad we did do it, and hopefully I won't have to do it again.
Yes, absolutely. So the other thing we found in our survey, and you all both touched on this, is that most communities were supportive of the changes that were made regarding their policies. So Jordan, you mentioned this, that your associations, your communities knew, they knew you were there. What changes did you implement on how you interacted with your associations? And talk about their response.
Well, the interesting thing is we had sort of things in place already. And it was just a matter of, how I don't know, the at-home economy was sort of primed and ready, except it just took this situation to accelerate it. I sort of see us in the same position. So we were essentially primed and ready. We didn't necessarily have Zoom. We had GoToMeeting for years, and I maybe used it like once or twice. We had implemented online voting for associations. We had already implemented online voting. We had, in a sense, implemented your mailing service. So we just weren't using it, but it was all there. And the only reason why we weren't using it is because, one, and our internal staff, for the most part, felt like, well, this is the way we do business and this is the way it works. And but we couldn't do business normally. So that went out the window. Our clients, when we'd approach them about what we call a Zoom meeting now, I mean, that's the term, but they would say, no, we got to meet in person. And say, but this is a perfect opportunity. Let's at least try a couple of meetings like this. Online voting. I mean, God, I felt like that was a natural in our business, and we were, I couldn't get people to just do it. But now they couldn't meet in person, and it was the best option. So those are just a couple of the things that were primarily already sort of like they were in place. We just had to like turn them on and implement them. And now we're back, and that's the way it's going. I mean, we'll probably have a hybrid between online and face to face, and yes, will we be back at a conference again? I hope so. I'd love to go back to the Appfolio conference and actually be there. It's wonderful. But we know we can operate like this. We can do it efficiently. I think burnout rates with managers is far better than it was before because of these tools that we can implement. And for instance, like the online voting with the associations, it's so much better for the associations. So much more involvement. So many more people voted this year. It's unbelievable. So that's kind of that's where we are with that. And it seemed to all the stuff we had sort of in place just blew up.
And what you described is really something that we've been calling that forced digital transformation. It's like you said, it's all there, but there's been that reluctancy from your communities to push it forward. So this was the prime opportunity for that to happen. Michael, was there anything like that for you all in your communities where maybe there's something you've been dying to get going, but it just haven't been able to, and you were able to now do it in light of the change to Appfolio or because of COVID?
Well, actually, a little bit of both. And I think, as Jordan said, change in the condominium business is difficult at best. No one likes to change. So if that's how you did it before, if this is a letter I sent for the last 30 years, well, that's the letter I want to send tomorrow. Same thing with meetings. No, we have to meet in person. It's important. Well, guess what? You don't have to meet in person. You don't have to meet monthly. You can get everything you need to do now digitally, and it works. We are seeing a little more in the way of, as Jordan said, we're seeing a little bit more in the way of people actively meeting and doing things because it's easier for them. I think the other thing is that people don't have as much to do. So this becomes something that they're interested in now, as opposed to, you had your life moving on and everything else around you. It was difficult in the fact that we had to close some things down, our community rooms, our pools, our exercise rooms. Those were difficult decisions to make, but we feel we made the right decisions because in Connecticut, we had no protections against any lawsuits that may come up or anything along that nature. So we had to act very cautiously. And people survived without their pool. People survived without those things. But we did see some ideas that have come up that we're happy about. And we think the same way, that we're probably not going to have as many meetings. There'll be more digital meetings. Mm-hmm. We were able to vote. Connecticut allowed us to do that. We're very regulated with condominium associations. Connecticut allowed us to vote via mail. We haven't gotten to email voting yet, but I'm sure that's going to get there in digital voting. But they have not allowed that yet. So that's something that we have to work on with our legislators. But I think that will be a lot better and a lot safer. And that's something we're looking forward to. And as far as the staff goes, once we get used to it and once the people get used to it, I think it is going to be here to stay.
And this is really a consistent theme I've been hearing in the conversation that I've had as well. And it's kind of a perfect segue into thinking about the future because, yes, we've gone through this last several months. We've been working through changes, but it's really time to think about what this means going forward. And so I'd love for us, as we think about just kind of wrapping up soon on, Jordan, like you start, what are some of the things you've implemented during this time that you know you're going to keep in place? Like you won't even look back on making the changes.
Well, I mean, for one, the way that we're handling internal communication, basically via the work order system until we come up with something better. That was an amazing eye opener, where now we can actually see what's going on in the company. We've implemented another system called Hiver in our internal emails, where we can sift through and assign emails out to the different administrative people, which has been fascinating. What it has made me do is kind of rethink everything. So it's given me the ability to look at how we're handling architectural requests, how we're handling violations, how we're handling delinquency, utilizing the dashboard to the best of our ability in the system. So, and overall, what we can do moving forward to better communicate. And so, utilizing these systems that are in place and analyzing it and diving into it is where we are today, and that's what we have to continue to do in the future in order to make this thing work. And it's all there.
That's a great point. And I think you touched on something really important, and that's time, and really taking that time to look and see what tools you actually have available to you, which, you know, in the past, we may not have had that time, or that might have not have been the highest priority. But now, by doing that, you can uncover things that are going to change the way that you are able to, you know, work internally with your company or with your community. So that's great.
Yeah, and sorry, I was going to say, and things do change. So like in the system, how we were handling architectural requests prior, we would have to do our own approvals, but now that's all built into a module in the architectural request. But now, even today, I had a meeting with the manager saying, hey, what else can we use this approvals module for? Because it's brilliant. We're just not utilizing it to its fullest capacity. So those are things that I love to look at. You know?
Absolutely.
So, sorry.
No, that was great. That was great. What about you, Michael? What are some of the things you've implemented that you know you're just not going to go back to? Or go back, you know,
again, one of the reasons that we chose Appfolio was because of its innovation and its systems. That everything is on one platform, so we're dealing with everything in one place, which was really exciting for my end. You know, we're looking at things now that, you know, we didn't have a work order that flowed. Now we have it, and it's so much easier, so much more efficient. My board members can look at it. We've given them access to see that. You want to see what it is that your supers are doing, that your staff is doing, they're yours. We want you to look at that. It's important. We want you to see all of the financial statements that we can give you. And you don't have to go back and forth. You have a question, you click on the bill pops up, and you're able to see it. And so we're not going to go back to, you know, 2 systems, 3 systems to do the same thing. We're going to continue to work, and we're not as far along as Jordan is in some of the other things. We're just getting into more of the violation letters and things along that nature, those modulars that we're looking to see, and how we can do that and how we can make this more efficient. And again, the more efficient we can be, the less pressure on the staff, whether it be building staff or whether it be our staff. That's the most important thing, because we're in a pressure-driven business. And anything we can do to alleviate that pressure by doing things routinely and systematically makes that much easier. And that's really why we chose Appfolio in the first place. And I'm happy to see that we're able to implement a lot of those things very quickly. And we've only been on it since April. And, you know, we're only into October, and our financials are running fantastically. And now we're getting into the rest of it. And I've done 3 or 4 system changes, and this is the fastest, the least painful of all of the systems that I've gone through. We just took over 180 units, and I think within a day, everything was uploaded on the new system. And they were doing it in-house. It was an in-house owner. They came to us, and we had it implemented, I think, through Appfolio within a matter of a day or 2. 180 units were up with all the backup information, the common chart, the rent amounts, the phone numbers, email addresses, all the incidentals that went with it, which would have taken, one person weeks to get into an old system. So we're very pleased with what's happened. We're looking forward to working with it more to streamline our operation.
That's so great, Michael. And it just pleases me to hear what a great experience you've had. And you've touched on something that I'm not sure many would think during this time, that we would see growth. And I know, Jordan, one of the things I've heard about Pelican is that you call your clients birds. So that was a fun fact that I learned about you all. And you have also seen growth, some growth in your company. Talk about how you think, why that's happening. Where do you think this growth is coming from?
Yeah, and I it's one of the things I was completely wrong about. I think in March, I looked at Joe and I said, I guess we're just going to have to be status quo. We're not going to get any new clients. And holy cow, was I wrong. We've grown significantly. And the reason being is because we're in business. We're operating just about as normal, even with, now we got 20% of the people back in the office, but it doesn't even matter. We are able to grow because we can pay the bills. We can pay them on time. We can communicate with people. We pick up, our phone. It doesn't matter. You could be in Timbuktu and have your cell phone. It still rings as your desk phone. It's amazing. I mean, the technology that's in place today is absolutely fascinating. So when we go out and we're pitching, actually these properties, they find us. And we've pitched them all on Zoom. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And we're transitioning them all virtually. I mean, but they see what we can do. They see our capabilities. They see the systems that we have in place. They see that, like, we ran through a whole season of online. I'll bring back the online voting again. But hey, I mean, they see that we've already done that, and nobody else is really offering that around here. So, and I have to say, Michael, keep all of your nice transition stories. We don't need any of our competition to hear any of that.
You're right. Let them be afraid.
I know Beth is like, no.
As long as you get them, you make them. That's fine. We'll get it somehow. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Michael's right, and he's right. It's amazingly simple, and you'll see, as he dives more into the system and figures things out, you'll see the efficiencies really come into play. And we want people that think. We want people that make decisions. We want people that are innovative. We don't need data entry people anymore in our business. We just don't need that anymore. So, and you all are helping us out with that, and it's getting better and better as months go by, so.
Well, this has been so great. One of the things I've talked about is the resiliency of this market, and both of you are just prime examples of that with your companies, how you were able to assess very quickly what you needed to do and lead your teams into success that I'm so glad that you all are having. So I'd like to, as we wrap up, say thank you to both of you, Jordan and Michael, for spending this time with me today, sharing your stories with everyone that's out there watching. And I hope the rest of you have a great virtual conference. And thanks so much for joining us.